business that was founded in Rick's garage 20 years ago and has made it to Walmart, Chewy.com, and the #1 top-rated product in its class on Amazon.
We lived in Pakistan. I liked comic books. I found a guy that bought and sold comic books, and I was 9 years old, and I was buying and selling and trading comic books with this guy. There was another guy who used to string horses and visit all the family homes. If you had somebody smart enough and able to ride, they could string another 7 horses behind, and you could sell rides for 14 horses and make double money.
From the horses in Pakistan all the way to litter trays.
Yeah. Don't blindly fall in love with your product or product idea. Use the tools available to you and take action.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Ops Talk by Paired. I'm your host, Martin, and today my guest is Rick Weldon, the founder of Forever Litter Trays, a business that was founded in Rick's garage 20 years ago and has made it to Walmart, Chewy.com, and the #1 top-rated product in its class on Amazon. So I'm excited to speak to Rick today and learn a thing or two. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Martin, thanks for having me here. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we press record, we found out that we actually both lived in Spain and we have a few things in common. So we're starting out amazing. And I'm really curious, Rick, what is it that got you on this path of entrepreneurship with Forever Litter Trays 20 years ago?
It's a longer story than we have time for, but it's always been a part of me. When I was a little kid, when we've talked about this living overseas, we lived in Pakistan. I liked comic books. I found a guy that bought and sold comic books, and I was 9 years old, and I was buying and selling and trading comic books with this guy. Probably the classic entrepreneur idea was there was another guy who used to string horses and visit all the family homes, the rich family homes, if you will, in Karachi. And so he could take 7 horses behind him, and then he would charge you for your ride. And one day I said to him, well, if you had somebody smart enough and able to ride, they could string another 7 horses behind, and you could sell rides for 14 horses and make double money. I was 10 years old at that time, and I was the guy. I got to ride for free because I strung the other horses for him. So it started at that young age of, if there's an idea and if there's something, I can make it better. And that's exactly what the Forever Litter Tray is that it's actually the original insert that goes into the scoop-free machine it's a non-eco-friendly thing. It's a cardboard tray that gets thrown away. I saw that, and I saw the opportunity where if you could do a plastic permanent reusable tray, Forever Litter Trays, you could use just that tray and not have our landfill get all filled up. And we calculated about 4 years ago that we've saved over 1 million cardboard urine and feces soaked trays from going into landfill because they can't be recycled. I have customers who've used the same tray for 15 years.
Amazing.
Hopefully that answered your question, but I got a little
summer from the horses in Pakistan all the way to litter trays.
Yeah,
that works. Yeah. And I'm very curious most entrepreneurs that I speak to are more on the creative side, because it sounds like you designed this product, right? Like you saw something that could be improved and said, you know what, I'm going to improve it. And that's kind of like a creative / design engineering process, right?
Yes and no. My background, my formal education is as an engineer, but everybody has a different way their brain is wired. And for me, if there are artists who are what you would call creative and they can create something from nothing, where my biggest strength is taking, if you show me this, I'll figure out a way to make that better, more efficient, more eco-friendly, less costly, whatever. If you can call that creativity, I don't know, but I saw the tray. I saw ways that I could improve it, make it more efficient, and make it a reusable tray and make it so resistant. Ours are made from 100% recycled ABS. So that's the same thing they use in restaurants and in hospitals and everything else. And so it's 100% recycled and can be recycled. It's recyclable. and it's super hard. So I just took their idea and just improved the heck out of it.
Love it. And
Yeah.
so I imagine there was one set of process is creating the product.
Yeah.
And then the other side is marketing and selling the product. So how was your experience going from I'm going to create this forever litter tray to now I'm going to build the machinery to actually move the product as well?
Fairly interesting process. Initially, I made them all by hand. I had a plastics company precision cut the pieces out of PVC for me. And made my own jig out of wood in my garage, and I hand built them. The first year, I made 2,000 of them by hand in my
Mm.
garage. And then through the network that we all know, network of friends and everything, one of my friends came and said, "Well, a buddy of mine has factories in China, and if we get work together with him, he can get it built in China in the factory." And we started doing that, and we started shipping by the container load from China.
Wow. Mhm.
And then we transitioned. We saw the writing on the wall, and all the stuff that's going on now with tariffs and all the global things. 2 years ago, we saw that it wasn't going to be stable with the trade situation with China. So we went the extra step and we had a tool built in the USA. And we
Mm.
have a factory now in Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
And we have our own tool at that factory in Wisconsin. And yeah, so that's where we are now. But it's all about, I think the most important parts are listening and keeping your eyes and ears open to what's going on in the marketplace. And also in the end, it's filling a need,
Absolutely.
finding a need. Cat owners, their biggest concern always is their cat poop. So we have two cats here as well. We are cat owners. We have two cats and a dog, and that's how we got into it. Was we had two cats, indoor cats. I wasn't crazy about doing all this cat litter box stuff, and
Yeah.
so I figured I found the scoop free machine. It had the tray that was not eco friendly, and I said, "Well, I can do better than that." That's what started it. So
Yeah. No, Rick, I hear you. We have four indoor cats and we also have a 6-month-old baby. And before we had the baby, I was like, you know what? This, scooping the poop is a little compromise I'm willing to make, a little sacrifice I'm willing to make to
sure,
have these lovely animals in
yep,
my vicinity. And then since we've had the baby, I realized, okay, this is, I'm changing diapers. I'm taking care
and
of a
scooping poop.
Exactly. I told her, look, I'm either doing one or the other. I can do the diapers or I can scoop the poop. We gotta distribute the tasks here. But so yeah, it might sound silly, but this is genuinely like a painful problem that consumers have. It's true. But what I'm curious about, I think a lot of people, and obviously things have changed in the last 20 years, right? I'm
Sure,
sure.
sure.
But I think a lot of people, when they have a business idea, especially for like a direct to consumer product, right? Their first question is going to be, how do I start selling this? Right? You guys are in Walmart, you guys are on Chewy.com. Like, how did you start getting on these platforms? Did you just start reaching out to people and, grinding on, cold calls, or yeah, how did you get
It's a
started
it's
with
a it's
selling
a
the
really,
product?
really good question. So the process, it was, walk before you run. So what I did was I built 50 trays and I put them on eBay.
Hmm.
And at the same time, what I was doing was, there was a period of time I worked for Procter and Gamble, and Procter and Gamble works in that division works on a draw through principle. You help the person selling the product. I wasn't selling to the end user. I was selling to companies. So you help with the draw through of that. So basically, to cut to the chase, is um, what I did was I made the tray, and then I went to all the online, at that time, all the chat rooms and online forums for
Hmm.
for cat litter boxes, for people
Okay.
who were sharing information about cat litter trays and cat litter boxes and what their problems were. And I started to get involved with that and then point them diplomatically and say, "Look, this is solving
Yeah.
a problem." I went
Mm.
specifically. People were complaining about the soggy cardboard trays, the fact that
Yeah.
they were being overcharged for them, and everything else, and said, "Hey, go to eBay. We got one that it's not a soggy mess, and
Mm.
saves you a ton of money." And so that started. That's why I made the first 2,000 at home in the garage that first year, was creating the demand or making people realize, because I think that's the biggest hurdle, is making people realize or finding out who needs it and filling that need. So by the
Mm,
time that I had to stop making them in the garage because I was just living, eating, and breathing in the garage making these trays.
yeah.
And that's why, and we started shipping, like I said, by the 40-foot container from
Wow.
China. We were shipping per container something around 4,500 trays per container directly to Amazon, and they were just going like crazy. So, yeah. So the idea is find your market, research it, make sure that
Yeah.
you've got a demand for that and a need for that, and then you fill that need. It's not rocket science. You probably talk about that all the time, but that
Sure.
was exactly what I did, and that's why it was on online chat rooms and eBay, and then eventually to Amazon, and then as far as Chewy and Walmart go, the interesting thing is they saw the success on Amazon and they came to us.
Wow.
And they
Okay.
invited us because they saw the success in the pet products market, on Amazon, and they wanted to be more competitive with Amazon. So they invited us to join. I was told that Walmart at that time for their WFS division was very hard to get into. It took long of application process and everything else. I got an email one day from somebody said, "Would you like to join? We'd like to invite you." So there was no hard process about it, simply because of them watching us on Amazon.
Very interesting. It's so funny you say that, Rick, because these days the forum of all forums is this website called the Reddit. I don't know if
Right?
you've heard of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Right, there you go. And so even though a lot has changed in business over the last 20 years for sure, to this day, one of the top recommendations of people that are, starting from zero with a D2C product is to go on the relevant forums and just get engaged and every day talk to the people that actually have the
Exactly.
problem that you want to solve and reiterate until you have something that organically just blows up. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
That
So,
it was pre-Reddit. It was our version of Reddit. And actually the core one for our product was called Litter Box Central, and it
okay,
had every litter box that you could imagine in there, and had sections for it. And so it was the old 20 years ago version of Reddit for cat
interesting. Yeah, the cat poop forum
cat
of the
poop
internet.
forum. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Who would have thought? Okay, very cool. And so interesting. What I'm also curious about is what were some of the most unexpected challenges you had to deal with in the process of scaling the business?
I would say, probably for us was the forecasting situation, especially during our most successful years was um, with China, because during the pandemic that was really really hard for us. You have a factory, we're not the only thing that factory is making. They're making a ton of other things. So we have to get in line. So from the time you put in the factory order to the time the factory actually starts producing the product, and they may only take a day to produce the entire run, is about
Mm,
a month.
yeah, wow.
Then
Long time.
yeah. Yeah, and then from then, port of exit and port of entry, you gotta figure another month. And so the
Mm,
most challenging thing was figuring out to make sure you didn't have a break in your flow. So you
yeah,
have to have manufacturing in time, and I try to use the just in time technique of that, and then it lands in ours were landing in Long Beach, and then it gets distributed all over the US,
yeah.
to Amazon's fulfillment centers. So it's boy, it was hard to really nail it and make sure because you didn't want to have tons and tons in Amazon's fulfillment centers because you pay storage fees. So you wanted
Right.
to forecast. And so what happened for us during the pandemic time was it was hard to find containers. It was hard to find ships, hulls to ship them in, and so there were some big gaps. And then what was happening is that the shipping companies were charging crazy amounts of money to ship the products because they could. They had you over a barrel. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it was a big challenge. Oh,
This was, I guess, the tariff situation that we have right now. This is obviously a pretty big supply chain challenge, not only because of the tariffs, but because of the uncertainty. It seems to be changing every week.
yep.
And then before that, the other big supply chain challenge was COVID, right? So was it after COVID that you guys decided to move the manufacturing to the US?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm, right.
Exactly. For us, that was the writing on the wall. That was our lesson learned that we can't be dependent on so many steps and so many breaks in the supply chain. You know,
Absolutely.
China, truck onto the ship to Long Beach, then from Long Beach, trucking companies and separating it out to go to the different Amazon warehouses.
Yeah.
Were just too many steps, too many costs, too many chances for something to go wrong. We did. I'm not going to name the name of the company, but we had one warehouse company that we're a shipping company we were working with. One of the times we had the entire shipment for Amazon go to Walmart, and the
Oh no.
Walmart shipment went to Amazon.
Mhm.
So
That's awkward.
at the other end, they opened up the container and they look at all the boxes that said Walmart at the Amazon loading dock, and they said something ain't right.
Sure.
So
Okay. Interesting. All
yeah,
right, so supply chain was an unexpected challenge. By the way, if you're looking to build your team with incredible overseas talent, check us out at paired.so. We help you find your perfect overseas hire that delivers world-class results for the fraction of the local cost for the same role. If for whatever reason you don't end up hiring anyone, you pay nothing, so it's 100% risk-free. We would love to chat and see if we can help you and your business. Link is in the description. Now back to the pod.
yes.
Was there anything else that because actually, was this the first business that you started, or did you already have some entrepreneurial
I've
experience from
I've
before?
done entrepreneurial things since the comic book days,
Right.
and
There's been
the horse
businesses
days.
since. Okay.
Yeah, I had a high performance and racing auto business for 30 years.
Mm,
And
got
that ran concurrent with some of the litter tray things that I was doing. And
mm,
so it's not my first business. It's certainly not the last business I'm going to be doing, but I've been involved in enterprises and doing things. There's another event. It's called the Miata Reunion. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mazda MX-5.
I
It
am,
little,
yes.
yeah. So in the U.S., it's called the Miata. And
Mhm.
in 2009, I went to Mazda. This is a long separate story, but long story short, we started doing an annual gathering of all of the Miata owners for all of North America at a racetrack at Laguna Seca Racetrack in California. So that was
Mhm.
the Miata reunion. I just now I'm in the process of 15 years later of passing it on to younger a passionate young group of four top professionals who are going to be running it now. And we just had a meeting today, as a matter of fact, about that.
Mm,
So,
very cool.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
so this was more like a side hustle for you then.
I wouldn't call it a side hustle. I would just call keeping a lot of plates spinning at the same time.
Gotcha.
Initially, yes. The answer is yes. Initially, it was
Mhm.
a side hustle, and my wife thought I was crazy. Um, when we were bringing in a container load a month of product, she didn't think I was so crazy anymore.
She
So
must have been thinking, men will do anything just to not have to clean a litter box, right?
that's pretty much it. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome, Rick. Well, in that case, and you're right. Like you told me that you've been doing business since you were a child, right? I think is just that sometimes people, take a break and get into a career like engineering, right? And then
Yeah.
sometimes they come back and start a business like Forever Litter Trays or something else. But in that case, I'm curious from your overall business experience, if you had to share some of your top lessons for people that are just getting into business now, what would those be?
It's interesting you ask that question because one of the things I live now in New Zealand and we lived in New Zealand before. I did a lot of mentoring for young business people just starting and things. And probably the single best piece of advice I have is don't blindly fall in love with your product or product idea. The things we've talked about are my business successes. If you're a proper entrepreneur, you're going to have a fair amount of failures too. I
Yeah,
have businesses that have failed.
sure.
We don't talk a lot about them, but those businesses that failed. There were lessons learned from those businesses. They were great
Yeah.
ideas. They were a great idea to me. But one of the things I learned from the failure of that was I fell in love with that idea, and it was the best thing since sliced bread that we're going
Hmm.
to do, and we're going to burn down the world with this idea. And then you go to angel investors or you go to somebody and they're like, "Are you crazy?"
Mm.
So the biggest, most one of the most common mistakes I see people make is they need to get other inputs. They need to do some really strong self-evaluation and product evaluation. Does this product really fit a need? Does it fit a niche, or is it just another Me Too product? Am
Yeah.
I just going to be another one of whatever? Um,
Yeah.
and if that's the, I want to say that the tipping point is learning when to say, look, this is just, I'm in love with this.
Yeah.
It's like an ancient Greek thing, the Pygmalion effect. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but
Have-
Pygmalion is an ancient Greek story. Pygmalion was carving a statue, Pygmalion, and he fell
Okay.
in love with it. He fell in love with his own statue, and it
Right.
ruined his life.
Mhm.
Don't be Pygmalion.
That's a really good point. It's so easy when you start building a business and it becomes your baby, right? All the love and effort and energy and time you've put into it. And
Yeah,
obviously, you think it's the best idea in the world. Otherwise, you would have been
yeah,
doing it. But ultimately, it's the market who decides, right? And sometimes
exactly.
it's hard to accept what the market decides. Yeah, since you're a seasoned entrepreneur, I'm very curious. Obviously, you saw an opportunity with Forever Litter Trace 20 years ago. What are some of the niches or industries you see in the market today that make you think, there might be a cool product or business opportunity there? I'm curious.
I'm going to be dead honest with you. I'm not a young guy. I think your audience probably is skewed more to the younger market. At the risk of really sounding like an old guy, when I started all this stuff, Reddit wasn't there.
Right,
So
right.
there are tools you've got tools back when we did these things. Look at how AI is budding in the market. I'm really going to go far afield here. There's a scientific term. It's called UNC and UNC. Have you heard of
Yes.
it? You know those?
To me sounds more like a meme that people use for older people these days, but maybe we're talking about two
No,
different.
no. Unk and unk is an actual scientific term, and it's short for
Okay.
unknown and
Mm,
unknown.
right. Hmm.
So, we know that we don't know how to make a flying saucer,
Right.
but there are things that are coming in the future. Look, an I'll give you an unk. 100 years ago, AI was an unk.
Right.
They
If you have
didn't
never.
know that they didn't know how to do AI.
Right. Of course.
They were working on basic computers. That was their unknown. So I'm coming all full circle to answer your question. Where I am now, I'm up to tune with what we're doing with the product that we developed 20 years ago.
Hmm.
I'm not in tune enough with market trends, market
Mm,
ideas that I could say, hey, this is a hot thing to go with.
hmm. Hmm.
You sitting right across from me, so to speak, you have all the tools. You've got the Reddits, you've got the AIs, and you've got just a ton of other things that you grew up with, that you're in
Yeah.
tune with. So I would say if there is an advice in that, I would say make use of all the latest technologies to filter
Hmm.
that for you. That's
Hmm.
the idea. Use your smarts in that way.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
entrepreneurial drive is there, but you use the tools that are available to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe that's the advice, because I look back and I used the tools that I had, which were eBay, the chat rooms, those kinds of things. That's where I saw the market niche, and I pursued it. One piece that I would give you, and this is not countering what I was talking about, the Pygmalion effect, is one of the biggest difference between a real entrepreneur and a dreamer is that dreamers will talk all day about their ideas, and it could be the best thing since sliced bread, but they're afraid to take the step and commit and actually do it. And
Mm,
that's what sets, I would say, a successful entrepreneur apart from just a dreamer. I had this idea about the litter tray. I could
yeah.
have moaned about it and told people all about it forever. Then I went back to my garage and I built 10 of them. I found people who had that machine locally, and I said, will you test this for me?
Yeah.
And then I test marketed on eBay. So I I did it. I didn't just
Mhm.
talk about it, I did it. So that use the tools available to you and
Yeah,
take action. Take
exactly.
that step, take the commitment, be smart enough not to blow your entire savings on it, but take that commitment and actually test it and find out as desirable as I think it is.
Very well said, Rick. I think that's great advice. That's something that I observed with every successful entrepreneur I'd ever gotten to work with, and also everyone that I spoke to on this podcast. There's this common theme, which is just action, action, action. Even before the thought itself is complete, it's still like
Yep.
just a rough idea, right? It's a rough draft. Just start taking action right away, and that's
Commit,
how things
commit, commit.
go. Mhm.
Take action and commit to doing it and find out if it works or not.
Yeah, love it, Rick. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights. And I think that's a great note to close on because that's great advice for anyone that wants to start a business or get into the direct to consumer market as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
And
you.
yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
absolutely. And for anyone that wants to check out Rick's business, Forever Litter Trays, we'll leave a link in the description. And I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.